do I want? And in cases like this, you have to find out who you are and what university or what your strengths are, and which is what is going to take you to scale your own mountain. The second thing I have always believed in is that setbacks are opportunities to rise again. You're going to have more failures than successes. And in my life, I can say it, I think I've fallen down many more times than I've gotten up. But when I've gotten up, I have stood on the top. And the third thing, I believe, also very, really deep in my heart, is that you have to become a lifelong scholar. You can never say, I have arrived. You have to continuously learn, unlearn, relearn, but keep going. It's like one of the quotes I read recently that said, you might be on the right track, but if you don't keep moving, somebody is going to overtake you. So, telling you a little bit about my own life, I come from Jammu, as Mark mentioned. So it was a very conservative society where small towns, you don't have many resources, you don't have many opportunities. So I was waiting for the time that I grew up and I did what I didn't see in my whole family. The women in our family didn't work, especially on my father's side. And I was not just going to be relegated to doing my graduation, getting married, and only popping babies. I wanted a career. I knew in my mind that I had more to do, more to scale, and I was willing to learn. My college was spent in Himachal, Sacred Heart Convent, where the British and the Irish nuns were the main features. They had strict discipline. I guess the discipline still comes from there. And you laugh when I say that there were women from Punjab, from Jammu and Kashmir, from neighboring places, even in Himachal as boarders. And that college was called Passport to Marriage. So they were basically biding their time to get married, to get one suitor who would take them on a white horse and go. But I had other plans. As a teenager, your age, I had a plan. I wanted to become an air hostess like many of the girls wanted to. And this is like way back in the 80s when it was unheard of and you didn't really get out of the house and suddenly go and fly in the plane. It was not considered a good girl. Unlike now, there are so many opportunities. The awareness of everything is there. The internet is there. We were relegated to just the black phones with dialing the numbers and getting everywhere. You guys are really lucky. You have to make every opportunity count because it comes very, very slowly, knocks very softly. You have to take umbrage in the fact. So, in my mind, I wanted to become a flying crew. After my graduation, I came to Delhi and I started applying. In those days, there were those newspaper cuttings. There was no internet. And I went for my first interview to British Airways, if you may like. And since I came from a small town, my confidence was not that much. I could hardly speak. I was a very hesitant girl. I didn't speak that much. So I went for the interview and they made me sit on the chair and the lady looked at me up and down and I felt really uncomfortable. I think you do too sometimes when you go for interviews. But I was not prepared. So wherever you go, you need to be prepared before you go for an interview. Of course, I didn't get through. I didn't take that as a failure. I took it as a setback, which I was going to change into opportunity to learn. So I worked on ground with Kuwait Airways, at the airport with Thai International, and started getting my confidence back. But it was still eluding me, the trip where I would fly. I would take passengers to the end of the ramp and onto the flight, but that I would come back. But I wanted to go and fly. So I prepared, I learned what it was going to be like, and then finally it happened. I got into 3 airlines: British Airways, Cathay Pacific, and Royal Titanium. And then I had the choice to decide where I was going to go. So I took Royal Titanium, and just a little while back I was talking to a gentleman with Bradford, and he's from Jordan, and so it's like, it just brought so many memories back. I stayed in Oman for 3 years. I learned that they didn't speak English. So I had to do with a lot of Arabic. Of course, on the flights it was different. But in the city, I learned how to read, write, and speak Shwaya. So anywhere you go, another very good friend of mine had said, wherever you go, you should grow where you're planted. You should not think the grass is always greener on the other side. You should make full opportunity and take full opportunity of the fact that you are there in the present and that you're going to make the most of it. Emirates was my next stop because there was a Gulf War and I had to move. Now I'll tell you a story how I looked like. This was me. This was me when I was 21 plus. In Emirates Airline, I got through because I had experience. And this is, I mean, when I was looking at this picture the other day, and I said, I can't believe it's so long back, 30 years plus back. So you can be anything you want at any stage of your life, and you guys are just beginning. So make full use of what you're going to do. Join Bradford. I'm coming to that next. I rose up the ranks in Emirates Airline very, very quickly. I was there for 12 years. And in the last 3 years, when I was already a purser running the whole show, something in my mind was telling me that you need to mentally stimulate your mind. I've been an avid reader all my life. I wanted to study. And Bradford, University of Bradford, stepped in. And I went for all the interviews, scaled all the interviews because I had so much experience talking with people. I got into the course. 3 years later, I was a graduate. I did my executive MBA, where people had experience in their lives, and then you study. Also to tell you, there are going to be many moments when you will stumble. I remember my first presentation, because I was not used to giving presentations. Studying is different from going on the plane, taking the PA and saying, ladies and gentlemen, we are just about to land. It was more than that, and it was going to be about a subject that I had to be really sure about. I remember standing there and my legs were shaking, and I said, I have to learn something about this. And that happened many years later, and I joined the Toastmasters International and became a distinguished Toastmaster because I wanted to just get the fear of public speaking out. If any of my classmates would see me now, they used to think of me as a very shy, timid girl. So anything in life that you learn will be useful for you. My parents came to Bradford, I went there, and my mother's sitting right here. I remember going and I was so excited because it was, you have this fancy feeling of wearing the cap and, getting the role, don't you all? So it was the best thing that happened to me then. Now you're going to ask me, after all that, what happened? After Bradford, I quit my job. And I was, in a way, I was also preparing to quit and do something for myself. Then I got married to this handsome man sitting here. Please raise your hand. came back to India. And because I had an MBA degree, I had to make use of what I learned to put it into practice. With so many years of experience working with over 80 nationalities, I wanted to put that experience to work. What is the point of having knowledge if you're not going to be able to share it, right? So I took all my strengths together and I said, now what is it that I'm going to do after being a flight crew? And then I came to know of image consultancy. That was a void here in India. So 2005, I opened my company in image consultancy, and as Sandeep said, that when you look for people, you're looking for an all-rounder. So we make them all round and send it to companies. So image management happened. And also let me share something else with you. When I came to India, when I was here in Delhi, I was, my form for Miss India was sent by one of my aunts. Because, come on, go and enter the contest. And so I was just made to go, and I did not win the title, unfortunately, but I got tagged as finalist. So when I climbed Mount Everest, the first news that came out in Nepal was ex-Miss India finalist scaled Mount Everest. So certain things stay with you. Now to cut the story short, it was my husband's 50th coming up, and to tick his bucket list to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, when he asked me, do you want to come and climb? Earlier, it was his brother who was going to go with him. He's an alumni of Doon School. And me, who had never even climbed a mountain or been to a gym, said okay. And that's where another thing happened. This is the two of us with Mount Kilimanjaro at the back, and it looks like so long back that we were there. And the journey of climbing started then. He's been a great inspiration for me to start this journey, but we really enjoyed. He started thinking of climbing the 7 continents, and I agreed as well. And we climbed 4 mountains together. We climbed Antarctica together. We were the 3rd and 4th Indians in the entire world to climb Antarctica. We climbed Everest, which is the highest mountain in Europe. And on the 4th mountain, something had to go wrong, and it did. My husband scaled the mountain, but I got severely injured, and I tore the ACL of my knee and had to come back. Actually, I had to be rescued off the mountain. Now, mountains have a season where you climb, whether it's summer, winter, and I was set to climb in January the following year. My surgeon told me, it's not going to be possible. You please take 9 months rest now that you've got this injury. Take physiotherapy and just take it easy, or go water the plants. I was never the kind to water the plants. We have gardeners know to do that. But my mind has always been strong, because like I said initially, it's like I always thought of who am I and what do I want? And what I wanted really badly and passionately was to go and climb the next mountain. So barely 6 months after my knee operation, I climbed 22,847 in South America. Both me and my husband, then we started scaling the mountains separately, and we did another mountain called Mount Kosciuszko in Australia together, and then the Everest happened. So I'm going to show you some pictures, and I'm going to show you very small videos, hardly a minute or so, to know how it was right on the top. Are you interested?
Yes.
This was the first banner at Kilimanjaro. And with climbing, what happens is that you have to continuously train. And training meant training 6 days a week to be on top of things. Just like if you would sit for the exams. How many of you are in the 12th standard? So it's your boards, right? So you're studying all the time, at least 10, 12 hours. So this is how it is even in the mountains, that you have to really give it all that you've got. And if you passionately believe in what you want, you will get it. So I'm going to take you, just to let you know, this was my second attempt in Mount Everest. Last year when I went fully prepared, but I had to turn back after a certain point because I got really ill. But do you think that setback really set me back? No. What really helped is that I got even more determined, even more challenged to work harder than ever before, that next time, whatever it is, I'm going to get it. So, this is the picture of me looking at Everest Base Camp. I can't unfortunately show you everything because it's a long way when you reach Everest Base Camp. And if you see that it's snow everywhere, wherever you go. And then I'll talk of Everest having 2 months. You have to spend 2 months on the mountain, which means in those 2 months you have to be healthy, your mind has to be strong, you have to motivate yourself just like you would have to do it for your studies to get wherever you want. And also stay strong and not get fazed by what anyone says. Many people in my climb would even jeer at me because I don't look like a normal mountaineer. A normal mountaineer maybe doesn't look that well turned out, but I would even put lipstick because I'm an image consultant. I would put lipstick even in the base camp and even high up. And let me tell you, I had carried the lipstick all the way to the top, but I'm so tired, I just didn't take it out of my pocket. So these are the two guys who, this is of the summit night. Summit night as in the summit rotation we call it. We go up from base camp, there are 4 camps and then the summit, and then you come down the same way and you have to come back in one piece. So this is the night that we were leaving the base camp for the last time on my 3rd rotation, which is called the summit rotation. And these are the 2 Sherpas who were my left and right, and they looked after me really well, but in the end I had to climb. And we went to Camp 1, which is about 19,000 feet. This is what it looks like. Very, very flat. This is Camp 2. You can see the camps over there, and if you go further down on the left side is where you start climbing up to Mount Everest. This is at Camp 3. Camp 3 is so dingy that you are literally hanging in your tent at night. You have to literally brace yourself because it is so steep. The climb is so steep, and at night you don't want to even move just in case you fall down. And the best part is that I've enjoyed my climb because I was prepared. When you're prepared for anything in life, you will enjoy the experience. Just like you guys, when you study further, enjoy the experience, study hard, and then make the most of what you want to be. So this is a video I'm showing you. It's called the Yellow Band. It's one of the features. It's very, very hard because it's rock and ice, and you're wearing the crampons and you can slip anytime, and you're just hanging by that rope. Luckily I had the whole picture just for myself. Some people had gone earlier, some people were coming way behind. You walk really very slowly because even though you're wearing oxygen, you just don't have that much energy to do it. This is another very, very steep section called the Geneva Spur. You can see a line of people coming behind. You would think we are in slow motion. Yeah, we are in slow motion at that time because you're reaching up so high and you have to be balanced out completely. You can't miss a step, even once. This is Camp 4, which is 25,938. This is the last stop. It's also called the South Pole. This is where you basically come up from Geneva Spur and you have something to eat and off you go for the summit. The summit took 12.5 hours for me because I was walking a little slowly. I was not breathless at all. And in between, I'll tell you where we had bad weather, 70 miles per hour winds came in force. There were 72 people who left the South Pole to go for the summit, and on that very morning, next morning, only 39 summited because the mind takes over where the body can't. So mind has to be strong. This is, you guys must have heard of Hillary Step. Have you heard of Hillary Step?
Yes.
It was a step when by the way, my husband is also Everest. Please raise your hand. He summited at 55 years. I summited at 53. And the best part is we both summited on the same date, 19th of May. Just a pure coincidence. So this Hillary Step during his time became a Hillary slope. It wasn't so steep, but during my time it was very steep. I had to really push and push. This video you will love to see is as I was approaching the summit. This is a picture where I was just going. Of the wind. That's where my shirt was. It's quite a show off actually. So you can see the steepness. It's actually even more because you're over there on both sides. One side is Nepal and one side is Tibet. And one wrong step and you could be going to another country. So this is where you will see me right up and close. Can you see the curvature of the earth at the back? I think this was one of the best pictures my Sherpa took.
Is that you?
Yes, I know it doesn't look like me though. I think I look from outer space.
Have you seen the lipstick? No. Fantastic. the summit there?
Right at the end.
Yeah.
Right at the end is the summit. And this is just close to the summit where I sat down. I'm sitting here with this, one of my Sherpas was helping me just sit down because it was so slippery. And just as a mark of respect, you don't really go and touch the top of the summit. You still come down a little bit lower and you sit on that incline. The mountain at the back over there is Makalu. And one of the things that will get you the certificate of Everest is that you have to have a picture which shows Makalu at the back. Otherwise, any summit with this kind of a mask could be any summit. So this is the discerning factor over there. And by the time when I was sitting, initially we were only about 7 people, and then later on about 15 or 16 of us were there, and we took the world. I mean, we were on top of the world, and it was a feeling like nothing else.
Yeah.
We had another batch of people from the BSF, and the other Indian flag that you see is of that contingent. I don't know who's under that mask, but I know that it was them. And when you go to the top, it's a feeling that cannot be described. And the best part of the entire thing is the day that I came back.
संगीता बहल ने 19 मई एवरेस्ट की चढ़ाई की और संगीता बहल की आयु 50 से भी अधिक।
माउंटेन्स हैं वो आपको बहुत कुछ सिखाते हैं। So guys,